The Palestinian death toll from the ongoing Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip rose to 41,638. The Gaza-based health authorities have said in a statement that another 96,460 people were injured by Israeli attacks. At least 60 Palestinians have been killed overnight in an Israeli strike on Khan Yunis. The attack took place as Israeli occupation tanks advanced in the south of the Gaza Strip, carrying out extensive raids in several areas, including a school sheltering displaced families. Israeli airstrikes in the Gaza Strip have resulted in the deaths of at least 19 individuals, including 5 women and 3 children, according to Palestinian medical officials. Despite a shift in focus to Lebanon and an escalating military campaign against Hezbollah, Israel has maintained its strikes on what it claims are militant targets throughout Gaza. Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital has received the bodies of 11 victims following an airstrike in the densely populated Nusayrat refugee camp, where survivors struggled to identify the remains.
In this election, we each face a question.
It's the fourth quarter. So tonight, right here is up and through the roof.
I know the president.
And even the bipartisan board.
Had a little not one. We're done. Let's
We now move to the United States, where the Democratic and Republican vice presidential nominees clashed over the Middle East in their first ever debate. The escalating Middle East conflict was the debate's first topic, giving the Democratic vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz, while his Republican counterpart, J.D. Vance, a chance to outline their foreign policy credentials. This debate is likely the final one of the 2024 presidential campaign, potentially giving it some additional weight ahead of the November 5th election.
Instead is drive the cost of food higher by 25%.
Now, this is a philosophical difference between us. Donald Trump made a promise, and I'll give you this. He kept it.
Former United States President Donald Trump has held a campaign rally in Wisconsin, promising peace in the world if he wins the election. Trump said that the world will go up in smoke again if his Democratic opponent, Harris, wins the presidential election on the November 5th. He didn't make any policy announcement, opting instead to highlight previous plans.
I believe it's the most important election. I used to say that in
In the economic news, S&P Global has downgraded Israel's long-term ratings from A+ to A, citing risks to the country's public finances. The increased risk was attributed to the escalating conflict in Lebanon. The rating agency highlighted concerns over potential security threats, including retaliatory rocket attacks against Israel, which could harm the country's economy. Elsewhere, Libya is preparing to restore oil production that has been shut since late August. People familiar with the matter said that Libya's oil sector is expected to receive orders to resume output in the coming days. National production and export operations were stopped in August when the parallel government in eastern Libya declared the closure of oil facilities. These are all the news we have for now, but here's a recap of today's main stories. Clashes erupt between Israeli occupation forces and Hezbollah. Israeli media reports that Prime Minister Netanyahu will hold security consultations to discuss potential responses to the Iranian attack. Netanyahu characterized the Iranian attack as a significant mistake, claiming it failed, while simultaneously threatening Tehran with consequences for its aggression against Israel. The Israeli Political Security Cabinet is reportedly considering retaliatory strikes on Iranian oil facilities. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid has stated that Iran will pay a heavy price for its attack on Israel, insisting that the response should be severe. Lapid emphasized the urgent need to bring back hostages from Gaza and called for Israel to develop a comprehensive regional strategy to achieve its objectives.
End of the war, and no political process or political turbulence should affect the hostage deal. We have to bring them back.
Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian says that Tehran is not seeking war despite the recent missile strikes. Pezeshkian described these strikes as merely a part of Iran's overall capabilities. He also reiterated that Iran will stand firm against any threats. The Chief of Staff of the Iranian Army, General Mohammad Baqiri, has threatened to strike all infrastructure in Israel. This warning comes in response to any potential Israeli retaliation for the Iranian missile attack last night. In a televised statement, Baqiri declared that the recent bombardment could be repeated with even greater force, targeting all Israeli infrastructure. Tehran claimed that their recent missile strikes inflicted both material and human losses. Iranian media has reported that the Civil Aviation Authority will cancel all flights in the country until tomorrow morning. The flight tracking site, Flight Radar 24, has indicated that flights are being redirected to available destinations. Several airlines have suspended their flights to the region or are avoiding its airspace. The United Nations Security Council will hold a session today to discuss developments in the Middle East. The Iranian Foreign Ministry has urged the Security Council to take decisive action to prevent new threats from Israel, asserting that its missile attacks solely targeted military installations. US President Joe Biden has reaffirmed America's support for Israel following the Iranian attack. He claimed that the recent missile assault was thwarted and proved ineffective, citing close coordination between Israel and the US military.
We know now the attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective, and this is testament to Israeli military capability.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has spoken with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant following Iran's strike against Israel. Austin noted that both he and Gallant praised the coordinated defense of Israel in response to approximately 200 ballistic missiles launched by Iran.
Palestinian civilians in Gaza is both a moral responsibility and a strategic imperative.
The Kremlin has expressed concern over the escalating situation in the Middle East, calling it alarming and urging all sides to exercise restraint. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters that Russia is in contact with all parties in the region and condemns any action resulting in civilian casualties. Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz has announced that United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is now banned from entering Israel. Katz claims that Guterres failed to clearly condemn Iran's criminal attack on Israel and that he was therefore not fit to set foot on Israeli soil. He has also accused Guterres for hating Israel and supporting terrorists.
Was the bloodiest day in Lebanon since 2006. Today, Israeli Defense Forces struck civilian buildings in Beirut, saying they had targeted Hezbollah's main headquarters